Hey everyone, welcome to Roman Just Codes. This is the first live stream, so please welcome. I'm Roman. I'm gonna be sharing with you a bunch of things about web development, software development in general. A little bit about myself. I'm a full stack web developer. I dabble in mobile development as well. So this is me just wanting to share with the whole world a little bit of my experience and something about development, a couple of tips and tricks that I can share with the whole world. You guys can pick up a thing or two, so please stay tuned. You can visit me at romanjustcodes.web.app. You can follow me on Twitter at Dear Coders. I also post on Medium, so you can find me on Medium. And please subscribe and like my YouTube channel, so you can find it, Roman Just Codes. And yeah, welcome to this stream. I'm gonna be live coding through a series of sessions, which I'm gonna be splitting into kind of like multiple seasons, where I'm gonna be developing and creating like a full-blown web application from beginning to end, from end to end. You're gonna be hearing terms being thrown like Firebase, maybe for some of you who may not be familiar with it, but I concentrate a lot on the Google technologies like Angular, PWAs, Firebase, including like Firebase authentication, the Google Cloud and whatnot. So in this particular episode, I'm gonna be developing an application, a full-blown application using Angular technologies, progressive web apps. I'm gonna be using Firebase authentication. I'm gonna use Firebase cloud messaging, which is kind of like Firebase's approach to push notifications. I'll also be leveraging Firebase hosting so that you can actually for free host your static websites and even dynamic websites on a secure cloud using HTTPS by default. So hey, just stick around and see if you can learn anything or two. I'm gonna be probably splitting these segments like in about an hour. So for an hour, you can just sit there and watch me code as I just live code applications from the ground up. Let me show you real quick. So here, this is the application that we're going to be building. This application called Toursy. This application, this application right here is Adobe XD, which is my prototyping tool that I use to develop my mockups. So a quick shout out to a buddy of mine, James Blackwell. You can visit him on his portfolio page as well, Blackwell Space. And this is a tool that I use for prototyping my applications, my web applications, even my mobile applications. And then this gives you like nice click-throughs, and you can generate like SVGs out of this tool. So this is the application that we're going to be developing throughout this season. Pretty much it's just like this application is called Toursy, which is like a hand-curated list of touristic attractions in the Dominican Republic. I called it Toursy, I just made that name up, but it originally was developed as a Flutter mobile application. That's again another one of the technologies that I dabble into. I've developed you can actually check my portfolio at romanjustcodes.web.app. You can check my portfolio. You can see a couple of the Flutter applications that I've developed. This was originally developed as a native mobile application in Flutter for iOS and Android. You can actually download it for free in either the App Store or the Google Play Store. And now I'm turning it into a progressive web app to kind of prove and bring it full circle that you could actually even use web technologies to create very compelling experiences for your users that don't have to go through like the App Store. And you can actually use web technologies to create stuff like this, PWAs, which gives you like a lot of power when it comes to, again, write once, run anywhere, developing fast, and using and leveraging the existing infrastructure of the web. So this is exactly what I'm going to be doing with this application. So this application will have like a splash screen. It will have like a list of the attractions. It will have like all these components. It will have a map, so I'm going to be leveraging also like Google Maps. You're going to be seeing me developing for Google Maps. Also, it will have like some sort of like master detail type of approach. Like you select one of these elements and then you're going to get like the detailed information about that. There will be like a profile page as well. and you're gonna have like a way to save like your favorites. So that way, like anywhere you are in your application, you can select one of these, kind of like tap on the heart, and you kind of, or like actually here in the details page, you can click there, and then that will go to another place where you will see like all your favorites. This application will be developed from scratch using Angular 11. So I'm actually on the very latest and greatest in Angular, the latest version of Angular 11, the latest version of Angular, which is version 11. I'm gonna be again applying a lot of techniques for developing the latest and the greatest as far as like PWAs, mobile applications, web technologies using Angular, Firebase, and whatnot. So this is the application that we'll be building. Let me show you. Then, for example, I'll just fire up my preferred IDE. I don't know maybe what your preferred IDE is. For me, is like Visual Studio, but you can actually do it in any IDE pretty much. I like it because this one has integration with Firebase, which is pretty cool. And then this is one of the technologies that I'll actually be using. So I can start from the beginning. I can open up like the terminal here, and then I could probably go to, let me see where I am. I can go to my documents, and then I can create like a directory called Toursy. And then in this directory, I will create the Angular project. So again, like I said, I'm gonna start completely from scratch. I'm gonna be developing this application in Angular, and then I'm gonna be using the Angular CLI. You could actually again install it yourself. I'll let you maybe do some digging in that aspect. But for example, if you go to angular.io, it gives you like a lot of things that you can, where you can install like the CLI. It tells you a lot of information about, some of the things that I'll be talking in here as well, and you can check that out as well. So you can even do like the Angular CLI. You can install the Angular CLI, which will give you like the very most stable version of Angular, which is version 11. Yeah, exactly. So we can take a look at that. But actually what I'm gonna do right now is immediately start with the coding session. So here inside of my folder, the Toursy folder, I'm gonna be creating the actual new Angular project. So the way that you do it is ng new Toursy. I'm gonna call it web app. So it's ng for the Angular CLI. So you have to type ng new to create a new project, Toursy web app, and then it just generates the project for you. While that's going on, actually here it will just say you want to enforce trigger type checking. I can say yes. Of course, I want to do Angular routing, of course, because I'm going to be developing a couple of pages. So I'll say yes as well. Which style sheet format would you like to use? I usually like to use one of those CSS preprocessors. So I either pick like either LESS, SAS, SCSS, not just raw CSS, because again, one of the advantages of using like a CSS preprocessor like SAS or LESS is because it allows you to precompile your CSS. You can like create like mixins, or what they call, and you can even create like variables so that you can share your CSS across your application, and then that way you can not have like maybe broken down, your CSS being broken down accordingly throughout your application, and then you can have even a better organization of your CSS as well. So I'll go with SCSS. It's kind of like my preferred one, but you can pick SAS or LESS. Those are like good alternatives. So again, while that goes on, I just wanted to show you real quick my portfolio, so you can visit me at romanjustcodes.web.app. This application itself was actually built with Angular 11. I'm using the latest and the greatest. You can actually check some of the latest videos that I've posted. You can take a look at my blog. I actually blog a lot in Medium, so you can take a look at the blog. You could actually check out the apps that I've built for multiple platforms, Android, iOS, for the web. And of course, yeah, feel free to even purchase some of the merchandise. For example, like this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, you can actually get it on the store. You could take a look at some of the other products that I have in here. So pretty cool stuff for you to take a look at. So yeah, please follow me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I also have a GitHub account. You can take a look at some of the projects that I've created. I forgot to mention that I'm also a Snapchat or original lens creator. That's why I'm also delving in augmented reality. I could actually create even like a completely new series about that. about like some of the coding aspects of that, augmented reality, 3D modeling, coding in Unity and whatnot. So those are also a couple of the things that I do touch as well. So let me just get rid of that. Okay, perfect. The project has already been created. And there's a project like Toursy web app, right? So I can cd into that project, or actually what I'm gonna do better is I'll open into that folder so that it will be like the root of my project. So if I go to documents, Toursy web app, that's my folder. So I'll just open, actually, let me do it again. So I'll open into that folder again. Yeah, right here. So I'll do open, and then that's it. So this is my project again, and how can you tell whether this is already like in the latest JSON, like I said, in the latest Angular. So in this JSON file, in this package.json, you can see that all the Angular dependencies have like 11.0.1, which is like pretty much the very latest version of Angular. And this is the application that I'll be building, remember. So I'll be moving like some of these aspects, some of these assets into my project. So again, for some of you who just joined or are looking, so again, this is gonna be an Angular PWA that I'll be building using technologies like Firebase authentication, cloud messaging. I'll be using push notifications, of course, with cloud messaging. I'll be doing the real-time database and even Cloud Firestore. I'll be hosting it using Firebase hosting, and I'll be using, again, like I said, the Angular framework for building this PWA. This is again the design that I mocked up for that, so I can even try to share it with you guys. But at least you will see that throughout this season, multiple episodes, I'll be building that. But today, at least, I'll start with the core of the project. So again, without further ado, I'll continue here. So if you see, again, I think I'll just create like a. Actually, in order for me to demo the application, like to see it running, I could either like open up like a little bit of a window on the left hand side right here. I can even use one of the emulators. So I can right now, for example, do localhost 4200. Of course, there's nothing running in there. So if I now try to run this application, by default, the way that it will look if I run it is again in Angular npm start. Then if I do that, it will perform the ng-serve, and then it will again build the application and serve it off of localhost 4200. So we'll take a look at what it looks like from scratch, pretty much, right? I'll also show you how I distribute my application, how I architecture it, pretty much, like how I divide the folders, how I create the files. You can follow your own approach or whatever works for you, but you will follow along, and then you will see how is it that I do it. So this is kind of like what it looks by default. It just gives you like some boilerplate content, which I'm gonna remove right now. So I can just go to the source, app component, and I'm just gonna delete everything but this router outlet, which I will be talking about in a second. So the router outlet in Angular, some of you who may know already, the router outlet allows you to, again, it kind of works in conjunction with the navigation system in Angular. And then when you move from one page to another, the router outlet works as kind of like the viewport of the application through which you will see one page at a time. This actually allows you to inject pages into it, and then the navigation just is in charge of swapping the views, swapping the components, and then just displaying one at a time in one router outlet. You could have more than one router outlet in your application, depending on how you structure your navigation strategy. So I will be pretty much, I might be doing more than one outlet. For now, I'll just stick with the basic outlet. For now, you don't see anything. That's exactly the outlet should be showing, like components and pages, but I haven't set up the navigation yet. So that's where we're gonna go now. So right now there's nothing showing through, of course, and then that means is because I haven't created any of the pages. So why don't we start? Like the way that I do is within the app folder, I create like a new folder called pages. In this folder, then that's where I keep like all the components that I create as pages. So they're all components within Angular, but I either create them as child components or like higher level components or like page components, right? So I create like a folder called pages. I also create a folder called components, which again, that's where I keep all the other regular components. I create one folder for like models. This is kind of like where I'm gonna create my DTOs, like the data transfer objects or DAOs, whatever you want to call it. But it's kind of like the models that will map to the JSON that will come through a service. That's something that I will be touching later on, which is I'm gonna be consuming like RESTful API services that I've created for the version of this application for the native mobile application, for the native iOS and Android using Flutter. So the same API, the same RESTful API, I will be using it in this application. So I need models, I need some sort of like interfaces. You will see how I create them later, in later videos, how I create them so I can map the objects coming from the service. So for now, of course, I'm gonna have components, models, pages and whatnot. I can probably create like a folder for constants, kind of like, you know, I will create either like utility methods or like enumerations, constant files, maybe to feed mock data into my application, something like that, or just constants like values that will be used throughout, like globally throughout the application. So we can try that. So right away, I'm gonna create a few pages. So if we go back to the design, and then you will see, for example, roughly how many pages is it that we will have in this Toursy application. So without counting the splash screen, which is the beginning, we will have like a main page, like the list. I will have a map page, that's where the map will be. I'll have one for like the Toursy details, like the details on when I select one attraction. And then I'll have also like a profile page like this. I'll also have a favorites page. I may create more pages down the line, but for now I'm gonna stick with these pages. If I for example, I'm also gonna create like a menu and stuff like that, but those probably will use components. Here as components, we will do, for example, like the splash screen, then it will be a component as opposed to a full-blown page. Like the header up here will be a component. This tab navigation that I created. The map itself could be a component. There's a map page, but then I have a map component. The like some of the aspects of the details, like this toast notification that will slide from the bottom of the map, like a custom toast that I created there. So that will be a component, and so on and so forth. Of course, like I said, like these tiles, like these attraction tiles will be components. So how many pages? We'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages starting from the main page. So why don't we start with that? So I can cd into, actually I'll create another part of the terminal to do this. So I can just, in here, I'll say like, where am I? So I cd into the source app pages. Remember, everything is a component. It's just that I'll create a component and then I'll call it page, because I will treat it as a high level component that will be tied or mapped to a route in the application. So I can navigate to that component, to this page pretty much. So I will do NGGC, which stands for ng generate component, using the Angular CLI. You could use either or. I kind of like to use the shorthand. So ng generate component, and then I'll call it main page, right? And then it will generate main page component. So if I do that, and then I use this nomenclature to create my pages. So there you go. So I will have a main page, we will have its own folder, and so on. If I create, for example, like all the other ones, I'll just use the same approach. And then we said a map page. So I will call it map-page. And it will create the page for me. And as you can see already, the page folder is already being populated with folders which have the components inside. So it's an HTML, SCSS, a spec file for testing, and you have like your code behind, so to speak, like the TypeScript that I'll use for the code behind of this page. The map page is the same thing. So I will go and create the other three pages. So I'll have let's call it details page, profile page, favorites page. So then I'll just do the same approach. We have the details page. Perfect. I'll have the next one, which will be the profile page. You see, like, you know, the components already being created. And last but not least, favorites page. And then you see like my 4 pages in there. Perfect, everything is compiled successfully. If you come back here, of course, nothing still shows. Why? Because we haven't set up the routing for it. The application doesn't even know where to go because it doesn't have anything hooked up yet. So what do you do? So again, we go to the app routing module. The app routing module is where you specify all your routes and how your navigation scheme will work. What is it made up of? So in this routes line 4, if you notice, the routes, this is how you create like a route pointing to a component, a high level component, a page component. So you write the word component, like the keyword component, and then you map it to what component it is. Remember, I created one called main page component. The path, then you specify what the path will be. Whatever the user puts in the URL, when they want to navigate to that page, so in this case, I want it to be main. So when they go to localhost/4200/main, they will go to the page component. So if I save this, and of course nothing still shows, because of course we haven't set up like not even the default redirection. So how do we do it? Here you say redirect to main when the path is empty. Like when the path is completely empty, then you want it to redirect to main, and then you use a matching strategy. So you say path match equals full. This means it has to match full in order to go to a particular page. Otherwise, redirect me to main, no questions asked. So just redirect me to main when the path is empty, and then it has to be using that path match strategy, meaning full. So if I save that, see immediately I just saved it. I didn't even type anything. Immediately went to the main page component, which has like some default code that says main page works, which is okay. But at least I'm testing the fact that the routing is working. I'm gonna just copy paste some of these guys over here. So I'll do one for we set for the map page component, and you might assume, of course, I want to call it map. I'll create another route for the details page component, which we'll call conveniently details. We'll have the profile route pointing to the route, pointing to the profile page component, and then we'll call it profile. And last but not least, the favorites, and then we'll just call it favorites page component, and the path will just be called favorites, just like that. If I need to pass like parameters into this, we can hook that up later. But now let's see if the navigation is working. So if I go to main, it says main page works. If I go to map page works. Details, sorry. See, if I type something that doesn't match, it just go automatically to the main. Details, we'll go to the details. Profile, we'll go to the profile. Favorites, we'll go to the favorites. There you go. Now we can even deal with that. For example, like navigating to the wrong page or something like that to do like proper error handling. I can do it right now, real quick. Now that we're in the process of creating a bunch of pages. So let's say if you want to create like a 404 page in this application, how do you do it? So you can also do it in conjunction with the routing system, and it's very simple. So for example, you can create one page, and I'm gonna call it error 404 page, for example, like that. Error 404 page. Now what it would say is when it matches something that is not a path, that is one of the predefined ones, then take the user to a 404 page. How do you do that? In the routing you do this. So you say path star star. Path star star means match anything else other than whatever I have up there. Not like if it's empty, but if it matches something that it doesn't find it. So then you say, okay, so when the path is that, then you can say redirect to, and we will have a route called literally 404. But I haven't created it yet. This is what I'm gonna do. Remember, I created the page. All I have to do here is component, and then I have error 404 page component, and the path, of course, will be 404. So now you see. So now, when I match on something that is not even empty, but is something else that is not one of the predefined paths, it will go to the 404 page. So let's save that. So as I said, if I type, for example, main, I go to main. If I empty, it will go to main. But if I type something like whatever, I will get the 404 page. Why? Because it didn't find anything else, and this is like a good way for you to properly handle fat fingering and addressing your application, and then you kind of gracefully direct them to like a nicer page, as opposed to like, oh, where am I going? I'm going to the main page. Why? I was trying to go somewhere else. So but at least you tell them, oh, no, that doesn't exist. That's a better way for you to handle that. So let's begin again, back to the beginning. So you can see the math main page works perfect. After I created that, like all the pages that I'm going to be using, you can also create other folders. Like you remember, I created components, constants, models, pages. You can create other other folders like within assets. I like to create one, for example, fonts. If you decide to use like custom fonts, your own fonts based on like SVG graphics. Again, shout out to my friend James Blackwell, who kind of introduced me into the world of icon fonts and SVGs. So I definitely recommend that as well. Use icon fonts or use SVGs for your images, because of the fact that they're vector images that do not lose quality whether you resize or shrink those images. And then you can make them very lightweight, very small, and they still maintain that pristine quality and that sharpness that characterizes them. So definitely recommend like creating your own fonts or pulling your own fonts. I'll create another folder for my styles. So here's where I'll create like kind of all the styles that I'll be sharing throughout the application. Remember when I said SCSS, like how you can create CSS preprocessor files like that in order to share the styles across your application. So this is the way to go. So I can do also another folder for like icons. Again, if you're going to be using icons, you can add them here. I'll add another one for like images, let's say regular images. They're not icons per se, but they're just like images that I'll be using throughout the application. You can place them here. So you see I have like a, kind of like neat little structure, a way to like compartmentalize the application, and then I can drop the components and everything where we should go, and then I can find them easier. Excuse me. So we can just continue. And then right now, what I want to start with is, again, like, okay, where are we going to start? We're going to start with a component. The first component that we'll create will be the splash screen. So splash screen will be just a page that will display on top of everything. It will just slide in, and then it will display that pretty much. So why don't we start doing so? I will go back here, and then I'll create a component. So I'm in the pages. I can city out of this and go to the components folder. And in my components folder, again, there's nothing. I'll say ng generate component splash screen. So you see splash screen, I'll create a component. I didn't call it page because of course at the end it just appends the word component to it. And then as you see in my components folder, I have this splash screen component. And this is just splash screen work, that's it. So for the sake of time, instead of me like creating it from scratch, what I'll do is actually leverage one of the splash screen components that I've created, which is in my GitHub account, which I recommend you guys explore as well. So in my GitHub account, I have a bunch of projects that I've been sharing with people. You can use this one called like simple splash Angular. I have one called like this one, like have a simple splash Angular with options. What it will give you is this branch right here, this repo. What it will give you is a splash screen that you can provide multiple options to it, like the type of animation, whether it's slide left or slide right. You can assign a duration, how long it takes visible to the user, and also like an animation duration, how long it takes for the animation to do like whether it's like fading in, sliding in and out, like how long it takes. So I will just use the same component that I have here, which you, again, feel free to use it because it's a public repo. I'm gonna go in there, I'm just gonna grab the code, and then I'm gonna replace it in place, and then you will see it how I implement it. So in here, in my components, I have like a bunch of things that I'm gonna create, starting from the enumeration that will determine like some of the options on the splash screen. So here is just like an enumeration that represents the type of animation. Is it a slide left, slide right, or fade out, something like that. So I'll just copy this, I'll go back to my code, and then in the constants is kind of like the best place to put it. So I will just create a splash animation type. I'll create a new file. It's called splash animation type.ts. I'll just paste that in here. There you go. Splash animation type, which is an enum that just represents the multiple types. In my components inside of the splash screen, so then I'll just go to the code in here, and then I'll grab some of the other aspects. Let's say the HTML. So the HTML, I'll copy it, and then I'll dig into it a little bit. So you see, it's just a simple structure that shows you like a root div container, where I will use like the ng style directives in Angular to perform the animation, like left, how to position it on the left, how to perform the opacity, doing like using like again an Angular directive, so that I can manipulate it in Angular, like manipulate some variables in Angular that will affect the styling of this component, and then it will do it at runtime. So it would be pretty cool. Also, like I'll create like variables and whatnot to determine how to show it and hide it. I'll have like an inner container with a couple of inner child containers, like for the logo, a label, and a loader. That's something that I'm going to be exploring also here. So I just have the HTML. I'll grab the CSS as well. So I'll just grab the raw content in here, and then I'll just drop it in here in the SCSS. Even though if this is just like a CSS, but you can, again, definitely works. Some of these things won't work. Again, I will be fixing those as well, but you can, again, like I said, feel free to grab the code in here so that you can definitely in a very easy way, you can just implement this splash screen. So I just grab the content inside of my class, the splash screen component. I don't think I need this component anymore. So I'll just move it to the side, and then I'll use this as the TypeScript code inside of the splash screen component. I'll just paste it in there. And then as you see, like there's a bunch of things that I still need to import. So like the window width, like I created a couple of properties, and here he's asking me like I need to initialize it somehow, which is okay. I'll just initialize it with like empty stuff, because I think it's also going by the fact that these all are already initialized, and this one, for example, like needed like that. Anyway, so input, of course, from Angular, these are inputs. These are like entry points into the component that I will be providing values into it for animation duration, the duration, and the animation type. I'll import my newly created splash animation type enum. And as you can see, like everything else, like at least is not blowing up. I like to also add like encapsulation, view encapsulation.none for my components, because I kind of like to use that cascading effect approach. So I kind of like to do that, as opposed to like encapsulate all the styles within a component, because as long as you do it correctly, that you create your classes correctly and you know the hierarchy, this is not a problem. You just need to be a little bit more savvy as far as like your CSS goes, so that you can implement it correctly. So I've saved that. Of course, it's gonna blow up. I saved that. It hasn't been added anywhere. I just created the component. Now, if you see, for example, the last thing I'll show you here. So in the component, where do you place a splash screen now so that it shows on top of everything and inside of your application? So I've created the component, but I haven't used it. This is how you do it. So you add it in the app, that component, that HTML, and then you add it right on top of the router outlet. So you just copy this. And then you can just come over to the app.component, and remember the way that we created the splash screen component is called app splash screen. So I can just remove that so that it matches at least what I'm going to be pasting here. And then if I paste that in there, you see now the reason why we place it here in the app.component is because we want it to be on top of everything. We want it to be on top of the application, so once it slides out, then it uncovers the application. So that's why I wanted to keep it on top of the router outlet, because it's not a page. It's just a component that will show on top of the router outlet, which will kind of like expose the application itself. So at the beginning, it will just load, it will show, slide out, and then done. I'll save. It will rebuild. It will probably break in a few places, of course, like that. And then we're going to start making some changes as far as that. So it says... So he says like it has an animation duration input, blah, 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 splash screen hasn't been added. Let's make sure. So for example, like here in your, one of the things where you check is usually like in your app.module, make sure that the splash screen component is added, as you know. I will do a save all so that I save all the files as well. Of course, you're going to continue getting some of these things because those are some of the issues that I did not fix yet, but I will start doing so now. So back to the design. If you look at the splash screen component, remember that we will have like a logo, we'll have a label and a loader. So you see the code is referring to stuff that I don't have yet. So if I go to the splash screen component CSS, this CSS right here is referring to like some images that I don't have. So if I go here to my design, what I want to do is export like this image, like this logo for Toursy, like the Toursy logo, the Toursy letters, and then some sort of like a 3-dot loader right behind the logo. So what I can do is I can just right click over here, do export selected, and then I can export those files right there. So that's what I'll do. So I'll grab like this logo right here, the Toursy logo. I'll say I can just say from right here, export selected, and then I'll navigate to my documents, Toursy web app, and then I'll drop these inside of my assets icons. Let me just drop them in icons. So it will be an SVG. Make sure that you keep the styles embedded, so it will just be the logo. It will be dropped here as an SVG. So I export, and then it gets saved. I'll do the same thing for this guy, the Toursy logo letters. So I'll do export selected. And you see how convenient this application is. Like it creates your SVGs, and then you can design it right there. You can use those assets immediately in your application, which I highly recommend. So the Toursy logo letters, I'll have them there. If I export, and there you go. Now I can go back to the application. And then now if you open up your assets, then you see that your icons, you will see like those two files. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So the assets, instead of being like some stuff in there, I'll do icons, and then I have my Toursy logo. So the logo is the stuff that will show on top. This guy right here, the little palm tree logo. So I wanted to show like this vertical. Then okay, so then the next one is the label, which is the bottom piece. But here the label is actually not an image, but it's actually just like a font. So instead, I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna make that the label. The label won't be it won't be like just a label. It will be an image as well. So I'll paste that, and then the image will be the Toursy icons / Toursy letters. So it will show below. I can tweak the changes, and I can tweak the images in the Chrome Developer Tools shortly. Something that I wanted to use is like in the repo, I just use like some colors and some images in there, but I want to start using some of the images and colors from this design, so we can start translating the design into our application. So I'll grab like this color, this green color. If you see right there, I'll just copy the hex value. And then again, remember, I will try to reuse these styles throughout my application, so I don't have to like duplicate those efforts. So what I'll do is, like, inside of my styles, I'll create a file. So I'll call it colors, that is CSS, and here is where I'll place like all the colors for my application, right? So here I'll just create like a variable called like main green, and then I'll paste the color. So now this is one file that I will use throughout my application that I will import in other SCSS files, and then I don't have to redo that guy and like copy paste it all over the place. It will be just in one place. All I have to use is refer to that main green property. So in my splash screen component, I can just come right up here and do import, and then I just refer to the file where it's located. So in my assets, styles, colors, and you see that here I'm referring like to some weird color. So here I can just do main green. Now I have my splash screen, which will be color green. It will load the logo, which again, I should call this label. Good thing that I was just reviewing that. The app logo will still be the logo. The loader, that's the only thing that is missing right here, which is gonna be I'll drop it in the icons, but it's gonna be like a 3 dots animated SVG that I'll use for the loading. Again, props to my buddy James for introducing me to this resource called SVG Loaders from some guy. Look, if you look SVG Loaders, this guy Sam Herbert, like he created like very cool, simple loaders, and it's just like a simple resource. You can find them from anywhere for free, but I like these ones because they're cool, they're neat, they're fast, very stylish and very minimalist. So I like these. So I'll use this 3-dot one. So I'll do the save image as, and again, I encourage you use like instead of using like you could do animated CSS. Of course, you can do animated CSS. Mostly because again, sometimes you could do it like hardware accelerated, which I'll be using some of those aspects here as well. But if you can save a few cycles here and there and is already embedded in your SVG, so might as well you do it. And then you just download one SVG that already has the animations already embedded in it, so you don't have to like either do it with JavaScript or CSS. It's already there. It does what it does best, and it just shows it, and then that's it. So I already have my icon. Let me see, just make sure, confirm icons, and then that's my 3 dots SVG. So I'll save it. I'll save everything. And then we'll start seeing something now. So after I load the main, you see, boom, nothing happens. If I take a look at this, at the error, so it will continue say, oh, okay, so my animation duration is not a bind property, blah blah blah. That's okay. You see, so it's saying, okay, so I think okay, so now it's saying that slide left is not assignable to splash animation type. So if I come back over, for example, if I let me go to the app component, and then here, for example, you see like the slight left, I'm passing it like that. It says like it didn't find it. So let's make sure that for example, here it's not assignable to splash animation type. It's kind of weird. So I need to make sure that my, okay, there it is. So it just showed there. So I just needed to like refresh it, and then because that didn't make sense right there. Still is showing that issue saying that slide left is not assignable to type slap animation type. But I'm passing it as a string so that it can get converted to an enum. If, for example, even if you don't want to use the default values, you can just, it will use slide left as the default value, so you can even pass nothing and it would even still work. That's how I created it, so that it would do that. So if I save it, there you go. So now you see the animation, it takes a few seconds and then it slides out. That was pretty cool. So now let's go back to the splash screen. Let's I can remove this label because we don't need that. And you remember like when we were looking at the component itself, we made this the splash animation type being slide left, and you see we made it as an input. So if I save all, I can take a look at that later. That's the component that I created in my GitHub. But at least you see now the application works. So boom, it loads the splash, slides out, and then it exposes the application. So that's what I like about that. You know, the fact that you know, now it's taking shape. Now you see that it's taking a little bit of shape. So I kind of like that. Other resources that I want to add into my application before I forget. Actually, let me just comment a few things so I can tweak the splash screen. So I'm gonna go to the splash screen component. I'm gonna like comment all this out for now. I'll just like remove it and then I'll just add it again so that it will just like be showing there forever. So now for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this width. I'll probably give it a little bit more width, like 150, you know, a little larger. So let's change that on the app label. Also the app loader, I want it like smaller. So maybe we could do like 60, a little bit more subtle. So let's do like 60, and I'll keep still like the margin top, like, or actually I can even go like 100. A little better. So in the app loader, I'll grab these values. I love the, again, working with the Chrome developer tools because it allows me to in real time change the values, and then I can just come over here and change them. So the one that I was working with was the loader, so I changed those values there. And I think I remember doing the app logo, I changed this to 150, I believe. If I go back over there, then I select the app label, yeah, app label, so 150. not the logo, but the label. So I'll keep the logo like that, the app label, paste, save, and then we should see the changes being persisted. So there you go, perfect. So it just still remains the same. So I go back to here, and then I just undo what I had, and then I'll just continue. It will just continue working the way it was. So it will load the splash screen. It will spend what's the default. So the default that I set here was the duration was 3 seconds. The animation was half a second, and then it will just do that. So then that's it. Now you see that it says main page works because that's the first page that we're going to be loading, right? The way that we had it set up in our routing scheme. So what we're gonna do is now I don't want to use that font. The font is a little bit ugly. So another great resource that you can use in your web applications is using since we're using like Google like technologies or whatever. But even you don't need to be building like web applications based on Google technologies. You can actually even just use your regular HTML, JavaScript, CSS, run-of-the-mill applications. You can use resources like this one. So you can use icon fonts, like I mentioned earlier, using like the material design from Google. So these are free to use, and you can just drop them in your page, drop a link like the reference to the CSS, and you're good to go. And then you can immediately start using those icons. So I'm gonna grab those icons, and then for example, the way that you do that is like if you want to use one of these icons, remember, you can just either select icon, download the SVG version or the PNG version. But if you want, which is better, you use it in your page straight up as a span tag. And all you have to do is add the class material icons and then the name of the icon that you select. So how do you import this? How do you add them to your application? The simplest way to do it is just grabbing the actual like reference, like here. If you go again, like you click here where it says instructions in the google.github.io material design icons repo, you can just here go down, scroll down where it says the link reference. That's it. You just grab this link reference, go to your application, navigate to the index.html. You don't even have to like compile it or anything. You can just drop it here at the top, at the root of your project. And then that's it. So I like to use my icons. I like to use them from there. Also, not only the icons, but actually fonts. Like here, you see that you have to use like fonts that are like embedded in your web, or you can download them yourself or find like other fonts. But Google also provides a vast amount of fonts for you to use in your applications. So again, if you just do Google Web Fonts right up here, and then you can even see the available fonts. There you go. It's like a vast array of fonts that you can use in your applications for free. And all you have to do is just refer to them. And then it will just generate a reference link for you to add also like in your application. So let me show you how to do it. So I'll find one font called Railway. I like this one. And then for example, I want to use like a thin version of it. So you do select this style. I want to grab a regular version. I want to grab a medium and a bold. I'll grab like a bold. And then you see, as soon as while I was selecting those styles, it was generating a link for me, ready for me to just copy paste it into my project and just use it right away. So I'm gonna copy that. I'll just copy, bring it back into my project. So here it is, paste, should be done. But now, of course, I need to add now the reference in the global styles in the application, where would you actually place them? You place them here in the styles.scss, which is generated by the Angular CLI. And then here is mostly, again, it even says there, you add like global styles. So what do they recommend? They recommend you add then these CSS rules. And then I will do it at the body of the page. So I'll do body. Now the whole body for this application will use Railway, or it will default to a sans serif font if it doesn't find it, but at least I'm pretty sure that it will load it from here, and then that's it. So I will save them all, save all my changes. And then my splash screen will load, slide away, and boom, there's the Railway font applied up there. Awesome. So I like that. I like the way it's coming out. I like how it's building correctly, how, like now everything is all good. my application is taking shape. I have the splash screen. So at least we made it through creating like the core of the application, which is creating like the basic project, creating all the shell pages. We only created at least one component, which is the splash screen component. We can start creating some of the other components as well. I can start bringing those in, and then I can show you how, you know, the process is. I can start creating like at least the simple one, which is the that header component. So let me create that, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to be structuring the application to make it so that I can reuse these things, right? Awesome. So I'll keep that there on the side, and then I will continue creating some of those like common styles that I'll be using throughout my application and whatnot. So I can do, for example, like I can start with the main page. So in the main page, I will have like, you know, here I will change the structure, and then I usually like to start with like a main top div, add a class, for example, like app page, which let's say now this class will be all the pages throughout my application will be using this class. And then plus, let's say anything specific that I want to do with this page, then I'll call it a class with the name of this page. So I will have add page, all pages will have that class, plus let's say main dash page, like that. Then all pages, I would assume, will have the header right here. Let's say if I want to do it at the page level, or I could do it at the at the application page level. So that's a strategy that then I will have to decide whether I want to keep this header up here across all the pages, which I kind of see that it will be there. But for example, like this is the only one that will probably not be there, like the tab component. So let's say this header, since this header will be across all the pages, then let's not add it inside of the page, let's move it outside. That's what we could do. So then let's say in my page, let's say the main page, so we won't have the header in here, but at least you will have like the main container of the application. So I'll do like div class main page container, for example. And the main page container could contain like everything in there, and then for example, like, you know, here's my main page, for example, whatever, like that. I'll go back to the components folder, which I think I'm still in there. Perfect. So then I'll just create that header component. We can just call it like app header. So we do ng generate component app header, and then we'll do app header component, or actually just call it header because it will append that header app at the beginning. So we'll just do header, and it will be header component. The header component then will have the title Toursy. We'll have like the hamburger menu, which I will also be able to tie it to like services that I'll be creating to like expand and collapse the the site menu. Also, I have another GitHub repo with a cool site menu that I created that I invite you to share. I'll be bringing that site menu also into the application, so you will see. So yeah, I already have that header component. If I come over in my components, there's the header. And then now remember, we just made the decision that we will add it at the top of the page. Even, you know, the splash screen doesn't care about it because the splash screen just goes away after it moves away. But at least this guy will definitely be here. So if I do app.header, app-header, if you see it right here, the header component will say header works, and it's just called app-header. I'll also do the encapsulation, view encapsulation.none. And then I will just, for example, here, like I will start adding like some, see, or I think it will start showing here. I'll do div class, or actually I'll be more responsibly as far as like my HTML5 semantic web. So why don't I actually add a tag called header? And then in the header, then I will add, you know, for example, like 3 pieces. I'll add the hamburger menu, the Toursy icon, and then I'll use the other section for like, again, like the profile page or something like that, which I'll be using, which I'll be creating. Maybe I'll be injecting components into it. So here I'll create like a section where I will do like section class, let's say app menu. There I will add the menu. This middle section will be the app. Oh, let's call it header. So like that, app header menu, app header logo. That's where I will be adding the logo. And in this section, like let's say like app header right. For now, I don't know what I'm gonna be injecting. Again, I said that I will be adding the profile page, but not until I implement like authentication and whatnot. So I'll have a header with that. So let's just save it. And then of course nothing shows yet because I need to not only have to do save all, and then you'll probably see like it will move down a little bit. Okay, there you go. This is my main page, and then when I go to the app component, the app header is there, but has nothing yet in it. So in the app header, why don't we start adding some of those pieces that I mentioned? Like I want to add the hamburger icon. So the hamburger icon will be, I think there's one of these icons in here. I will find it. Again, I like using the menus, the icon fonts, because they're very neat, they're very clean, they're very slick, and they have like a vast number of icons that you can use throughout your application. If you don't find one here, I would like also recommend using like Fantastic or Fontasm, like one of those like also you know, fonts that you can use. I'll use this guy for now. I think there's another one, but I'll probably use this one for now. And then if I select that, you see that if I do select icon and then I just do span class material icons dehaze, then I copy that. I can go to the header component and just paste it in there. Check this out. So if I do that, and then I just save, and there you go, it already starts showing. And I just dropped that icon right there. So that's what I like about this piece. So again, remember, I can add also like additional classes into this. In the design, I have that icon like white. So I'll change it now when I do the header. Like in this header component, I'll do like class app dash header, and then I can also here import but the colors. Remember, I'm gonna import the colors, and then I'll do styles colors. I'll do app that header, and then the background color will be that main green, right? Inside of the app header, then I have the app header menu, so I could do app header menu material icons. I could do app header menu, and then internally I could do material icons, and then this guy I could just say, okay, so color will be white, and then now that icon will be white. If I save that, now let's take a look just to see what it starts looking. Not yet, so I have to let me do save all, and there you go. So now you see that. So I have to remove that from the whole page. Like remember, like the body style has like padding and margin. You know, this, I don't know why they don't get away with that. You know, they don't just do away with that. So I'll just do it right here. I'll do margin 0. If I save now, all that goes away. And then I'll continue adding more styles for this and whatnot. So there you go. Now it starts to take shape. Now it will show on every page. Look, if I now go, for example, to the profile, you see, like, if I go to the profile, you see profile page underneath it, but then the header displays for everybody. So that's exactly how we want to do it. So for now, because you already know that the splash screen will continuously show as I do that, so I'll hide it for a bit, at least until I get like this thing going. So I will show the icon. So in my app header logo, remember, so in the app header logo, like right here, I'll just add the image as a background image. So I'll do background URL, and then I'll go to the assets. I'll go to the assets. Let me find the assets. So I could do one more level. Sorry, I think I went actually too far. So assets, icons, and then I'll do the Toursy logo, the white one. I could actually bring another one, and then I'll do background. The strategy that I use for bringing images is like background repeat, no repeat. I also do like background position center, and I do background size cover like that. Let me see. I can actually do the no repeat up here, so just in case I think I misspelled it. No repeat, I can do that. Okay, so the app header logo, then it will show the logo. I think I just have to tweak it a little bit, of course, and then I'll do some of the Flexbox model like styling in there, and then you will see. So after I save that, of course I have to provide like width and height so that it knows how to display. So I think we could go like with the same thing that we did earlier, like 150, and then we take it from there. I'll do like a height of 50 for now. I'll tweak it, but at least I just, there we go. So oh, it's not this one actually, so I want to do the letter one. So I'll do Toursy, I'll do slash, okay, this guy, the letter ones, perfect. And then I'll just tweak it right here, there we go. So now I select the header, and then remember, because this is a header, I want to show everything horizontally. So you could do in the app header, you do display flex, and then these components, I want them to be far apart. So, or each one to have like their own container. So I can do, but in this particular case, I want the logo to take most of the space in the middle. So this one, I will add a flex of 1. So it will show completely in the middle like that, and it will push like the other guy there. So I do the width. I can see I can just shrink the height of that guy, shrink the width, so I can make sure that, let me see, app header logo. So if I change this like to 50, oops, sorry. Okay, did it change? Okay, so I use the cover, but I can even, then in this case I can even do like, you know, try to change it. Yeah, so I want to do that. The height, it has to change like proportionally as well, but I could do, yeah, background size cover. If I do contain, yeah, contain then works much better in this particular case. So I still wanted to take up the whole thing, so I wanted to contain, to be contained, the width to be contained. Also, I can probably do what, smaller, like more subtle. I can do that. I don't want it like to be too thick either, so I can do like, probably I'll do like 40, something like that. Now also, not only I did that, but in the header I did display flex, now I'll do justify align item center, so now things are vertically centered. I'll do like some padding as well, so I can do padding. Let's do like 6 pixels. Let's do a little more, for example like 8 pixels, something like that. That's okay. So I can copy these guys in the app header. So I'll copy the app header, and then I'll just paste it right here. Let's go back to the app header. So right underneath this, I'll get rid of the background because I don't want to duplicate it. And then that's it. So now I did the header. Let's do the main. There's the main, but the logo I did flex 1 plus I changed some of these guys. So I'll do flex 1 on the logo. So I'll change this. Get rid of this guy and do flex 1. Perfect. This guy, the menu, so I'll probably add like maybe some margin to the left or something like that. So I'll do to the app header menu, I'll do like margin left like 12 pixels, something like that. You see, I can even try then to do well, this particular case I did the color. I can probably increase the font size. Let me see what it looks like. Tool, it's too much, probably 1.25. Let's try 1.5. 6. Let's try 1.6. And then I'll do the margin left to the app header menu. So in the app header menu, margin left 12 pixels. And along with the color, I'll increase the font size. So let's save this now. I'll save all. That's my header. And then that's it. So let's see. And of course, this guy is showing there. This guy's pushing it. So of course, because I haven't added anything else on this side, I could probably have like a placeholder of something that will be there, like the app header right. So let's do that. So that's the app header menu, and then the app header logo, then the app header right. Well, maybe this is what we could do, and this will be like a placeholder, and we'll do like a width of like 50 pixels or something like that. And then let's see what it does. Like it just pushes it. There we go. So something like that. I'll try like 40, and then that's it. Or we make sure that something that we add in there needs to kind of like fit within that. Also, something that I wanted to do was again make sure that my the app page kind of occupies the whole height of the page. So this is one of the tricks that I do. So for example, like if you select it, see, like this is the container that represents the app page. But then up here, then you have of course, the header. But you want to take account for the header height, but you still want to do the main page that it takes the whole height. So that's exactly why I said app page will be like a global style applied to the application. So we will do like we'll do it as position absolute. We'll do like top 0, bottom 0, left 0, right 0, so that it stretches and then it attaches itself to the edges of the screen, and it always remains responsive. But then remember what I mentioned, we need to account for the height of the header. So the header right now, including padding and all that, so it's 56 pixels. So that's exactly the amount of height that you're gonna apply here. So instead of doing top 0, you're gonna say top 56 pixels. That way, it always starts right underneath the header. It will occupy the rest of the page, and then it will just behave responsively. So now anything that you add then inside of the app page, then it could behave like as if it was 100% of the page. Like from that point below is like, okay, this is the page. Anything that you add inside of that app page container, then now could occupy like 100% of the size of the page. But of course, the way that we did it, we just tricked it by accounting for the height of the header, and then just adding accounting for the rest of the page being the main container, and then now it won't disrupt the header, and then you can add anything inside of that container. So the app page will be a global style that I will add. I can add it here to the styles.scss, and then right here I can do like app page, and then I'll paste that. So it will be position absolute. It will always regard the size of the header, which I can even use this as a variable also, and be like, okay, so this is a header that will be applicable everywhere. That's why I say like I could add like to a common file or stuff like that. We can definitely do that, and that is something that could be shared throughout the application, knowing that the page will be that. So also app page could also have we can add padding and stuff like that, so it's also shared across the whole application. But we won't do that now. Maybe we can defer it to all the other pages. We could also add more classes for that. So let me add the let me just add the splash screen again, and then I'll undo, I'll save everything, and then as you see, you'll have the splash screen. It will slide out, you have the header, and then that's it. Now you have the hamburger menu on the right hand side. So as you see, we're following kind of like the same design that we did here in our Adobe XD file, in our mockup file. And then we're going to be continuing making progress throughout this application. So I think I'm going to stop for now, and I will invite you to visit me on my next live stream, where I'm going to be continuing this application, where I'll be adding more components. I will be explaining again my strategy for doing so, my techniques, and some of the tips and tricks that I recommend when it comes to developing Angular PWAs, implementing JavaScript, HTML, and CSS using the Flexbox model, like you saw a little bit of that, and just the reasoning behind some of those things, and just so that you can be there, me sharing my knowledge with the world, so that you can maybe pick up a thing or two and you can implement it in your own applications. So again, I repeat it. I'm on Twitter. Please follow me at Dear Coders. That's my Twitter handle, at Dear Coders. You can visit me at romanjustcodes.web.app. That is my portfolio and personal application, personal web application. Also developed in Angular. So again, talk about dog fooding. Also, you can maybe connect with me on LinkedIn. I do also have a Medium page where I post pages. I definitely blog a lot in there frequently, so you can follow me there as well. But don't forget to go to my YouTube channel as well, where I do videos like this as well. Please like and subscribe, even this video right here, if you like and subscribe, so that you can stay in touch with all the latest and the greatest in the industry. You see me live coding like this, and then we can have fun together, just learning. So without nothing else to say, please visit me again. Thank you so much for staying with me, and I hope you have learned a thing or two after this session. I hope you continue visiting, and see you until the next time. Take care, guys.